The Weeknd has just confirmed that his new album, Dawn FM, will be dropping this Friday, January 7th. And this is a huge way to actually start off the year because he's been teasing it for all of last year. And now we finally have a date and we're starting off 2022 on such a high note. So today's video will actually be focused on everything you guys need to know about this new Weeknd album. And if you guys are actually interested in pre-hype content for albums and album rollouts, please hit that subscribe button because we're going to be doing stuff like this all year long. And apart from that, you guys can actually listen to the album with us this Friday in a live stream, and that's going to be available in the link in the description below on our Patreon plans for the reaction tier and the crew tier. It's going to be a blast because we get to hear the album together for the first time. So if you're interested in that, please do check it out. And of course, our album review will be released on the Friday of this week. So going into this, bro, how do you feel? It's the start of the year and the Weeknd comes out of nowhere and gives us this blessing.
Absolutely. It's absolutely amazing because, like, you're going through all of 2021, kind of wondering when he's going to drop, because that's honestly when I thought it was going to happen. But man, we're already starting first week with such a major rollout. But let's actually get into this.
Get into the structure of this.
Because there's a lot of different things to go out through. So first thing we're going to be covering is the rollout. So basically, it was kind of minimal in comparison to After Hours, but there was sort of a structure to it. Not only that, but we do have some confirmed features so far. Then we have the album's direction, and then Lou and I will be going through our first week sales predictions like we do on most of these. So let's start off with the rollout, man. Let's go all the way back to August 6th. Take My Breath, and it was the first sort of indicator that this album was going to come out. So take me back to that day and kind of explain me the emotions that you felt going into that one song.
Yeah, so ever since he started teasing the Dawn, I was excited because I knew that it was going to be probably a companion album to After Hours, because obviously After Hours comes the sunrise, comes the dawn. So already that had me hyped. Then he releases Take My Breath, which feels like this old disco pop sound, and it feels way more upbeat than anything off of After Hours. So that had me super excited. And yeah, he's kept feeding us since 2020. He even gave us Moth to a Flame with Swedish House Mafia, which isn't a single for the album, but still got to see, it still gave us new Weeknd music,
That's true.
So that was really dope. And the rollout really started to pick up on New Year's Day when he released this message that he had with, I believe it was Lamar. And in that message, he said, "Happy New Year. Everything feels chaotic again. Music can heal, and that feels more important than another album rollout. Let's just drop the whole thing and enjoy it with the people. XO." So when you saw that message, did you think, okay, he's dropping any week now? What were the feelings?
So I thought it was probably going to wait maybe till February or March. Soon kind of means, I guess a couple of months for different artists and past rollouts. But what I was most surprised about, especially with this new announcement, is that the switch of the title, because everyone thought it was going to be called The Dawn, but it's actually Dawn FM. And what's cool about that is that, there's sort of a concept behind it, and there's sort of like this, loose end sort of feeling. But on January 2nd, The Weeknd posted another photo on Instagram, and he was like, "Wake up at dawn, like tomorrow, come out, see what we have to say about it." And then, of course, the official announcement came today, and the trailer says a new sonic universe from the mind of The Weeknd, and then we finally got the album titled Dawn FM. So how do you feel about the rollout? Like, does it feel precise? Did you expect something more grand in your eyes? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, well, with the After Hours rollout, it kind of felt like a whole moment because there was so much build up to it. But with this one, I kind of like the minimal approach because that trailer gave me everything I needed. It told me that there was going to be this new branding for The Weeknd because he now has this beard and he's now kind of dressed all in black like he was also in the Take My Breath video. Apart from that, we also got to see that Jim Carrey is probably going to be narrating this whole album, which is amazing. And it just seems super conceptual, and I love the fact that it's as if this whole project is going to be this radio show, and we'll get more into that later with the album's direction, but this is a huge way to announce the album, and I think that there's nothing else that he needs to do at this point. Like, I'm not sure if we'll get anything else leading into Friday, but do you think there's a single that's possible?
Oh, well, probably, maybe. I think that artists like to do it a couple of days before. I mean, didn't we see that with Tyler too? Wasn't that something?
Yeah, Tyler did it. With What's Your Name, I believe.
Was it What's Your Name? Listen, let us know in the comments if we had gotten that right. That was back of last year. But, going into this whole rollout, it's very interesting because it's minimalistic, but it seems like there's this underlying concept that's getting me intrigued to go into this album. But let's talk about the confirmed features because we did have some indications through this new trailer that we had gotten. So in the trailer, it says the feature list will include Lil Wayne, Tyler the Creator, Quincy Jones, One Authorix, and Jim Carrey. So obviously Jim Carrey is probably going to be narrating the album, sort of the same situation as Savage Mode 2 had with Morgan Freeman. Maybe it's going to follow that same suit. Probably different for, Dom FM.
Also, like Vince Staples' FM, when you had Big Boy from the Neighborhood kind of narrating you through this radio show type album. So maybe there's similarities there. So this is interesting to me because this is dominated by hip-hop artists as a feature list, and it's definitely his most stacked feature list since Starboy, and that has me very excited because on After Hours, I loved hearing The Weeknd and only The Weeknd, but to hear him have some collaborations now has me super hyped. And he did mention that certain songs on the Dawn will include elements of EDM, hip-hop, trap, pop, all in one song. So I'm kind of getting the vibe with Quincy Jones coming in. You get this old 80s pop vibe mixed in with some hip-hop artists. But how do you see artists like Lil Wayne and Tyler maybe fitting on this track list?
Well, I think it's very intriguing because I want to go back to something The Weeknd that said about this feature list, and he had kind of, sort of indicated some Dawn updates. Album is complete. Only thing missing is a couple of characters that are key to the narrative. Some people that are near and dear to me, some people that inspired my life as a child, and some people that inspired me now. More to come in the following months. So basically what was said in this statement a couple of months ago was the features are going to have a thematic place within the overall storyline. So it gets me excited because I want to see the way all of these characters are going to come together and really grow a beautiful direction for, let's say the progression of the track list. So where do I see Lil Wayne and Tyler fitting? Man, give me some bars, bro. I want to see what's going on there.
Think so?
Like maybe, who knows? It would be really nice, but I can maybe see Tyler maybe going
singing
into, more of his Igor singing sort of aesthetic, but Lil Wayne is definitely going to be rapping on this. I don't see him going in any other directions, but that's for the features. Let's go into the album's overall direction. How do you feel about this whole Dawn FM sort of situation where now you could sort of see the thematic basis of the album? It's sort of guiding you in a proper way. You're going to have Jim Carrey, taking you maybe track by track or maybe, every soul track to be able to, give you more contents behind the overall listen.
It's interesting just because I feel like every The Weeknd album is about, let's say, a falling out in a relationship. And usually he ends up being like, he ends up portraying himself as this toxic motherfucker. And with this one, it sounds like maybe he's going to be maybe guiding people to a more positive space, because even on Take My Breath, he was kind of like trying to bring this girl away from this world of drugs, as we saw with the music video and the lyrics. So with this, he maybe is guiding them to the light. You know what I mean? So I think it will be focused around a relationship once again, but it might be even deeper than that this time. It might be more about our existence, what's to come in the afterworld, because he did say in an interview not too long ago that he wants this album to feel like purgatory for the listener. He wants them to feel like they're in between two spiritual realms, and this is the soundtrack as you're traveling to this next spiritual realm. So I love the idea that it's wrapped up in this radio station, and I think that's going to be super inventive. So going into it, I'm expecting potentially his best concept record yet, and I do think that it will be way more upbeat in sound. What about you?
I also think that there's probably going to be this continuation from After Hours into Dawn FM because After Hours had that sort of toxic vibe, and we obviously all know the motion of that album and that track list, but this is going to probably be the morning after. This is going to be sort of the after effects of what transpired or what was learned on After Hours, and we might see some new introspection from The Weeknd on this album. So I agree with you. There is potential for this to be a great, thematic record for something that we maybe haven't seen this detailed yet in The Weeknd's discography. But let's actually get on to what Jim Carrey says in the trailer, because it's very interesting and it adds this sort of insight to the overall track list. So Jim Carrey says, "You are now listening to 103.5 Dawn FM. You've been in the dark for way too long." That's interesting. "It's time to walk in the light and accept your fate with open arms." So that's fucking spooky, man. I don't know what to get out of that. Do you think that that's more on like the spiritual realm of things, or do you think maybe he's talking to The Weeknd? Like, what's going on there? What are your predictions for that?
That's very interesting. I mean, it could either mean that he has to accept his fate in the sense that this relationship is over, it's done with, and he has to come to terms with that, or it could mean that he has to accept his fate in the sense that, maybe this character that we saw in After Hours ended up dying, and maybe this is him transcending to another realm. So either way, it's going to be wrapped up in something that's totally immersive, because that's what The Weeknd does, and that's what makes him stand apart from other pop artists, is that he goes with so much thought behind these records. And I just love the fact that there is a storyline, and it feels so cinematic. Even when we saw the features listed on that trailer, it felt like fucking cast features to a movie. So I'm super hyped. And just going back on the features briefly, to hear Tyler on this kind of production is going to be super weird because he's never really on these atmospheric, psychedelic kinds of productions. So it's going to be cool to see how he fits in here. But overall, the direction is going to be awesome because we know it's conceptually based and we know that it's going to be an area that the Weeknd's never gone into before. But let's now go into the actual first week sales predictions.
This is awesome because he is a really commercially successful artist. Like, this guy puts up major numbers in the industry. So
he's a hitmaker.
Exactly. So let's actually go through some first week sales of his past 3 studio albums. So this is not considering extended plays. So After Hours did 444,000 copies first week. Starboy did 348,000 copies first week. And then The Beauty Behind the Madness did 412,000 copies first week. So Lou, with that being said, give me your predictions, man. How much do you think this is selling first week?
Very interesting. It's hard to say just because with After Hours, you did have singles leading up to the album that were huge, that were massive hits. And with this one, all you really have is Take My Breath.
It is still pretty massive.
It is still a good, it's still a big single. It might have gone platinum already, if I'm not mistaken. So it is big, but I don't know. I feel like because of the minimal rollout, because of there being only one single out, I'm going to go with 400,000 copies first week. Okay, I think that's slightly under After Hours.
Well, I think that you're going to play within that same realm because he's never really gone under 348 in like the past 5 years as far as studio albums go. So I'm going to say between 375 and 400. I think that's a good guess with it. The rollout's a bit more minimalistic. Plus, like, I think that especially with the way that we saw COVID impact numbers last year, let's say, we saw J. Cole take a dip down. We saw, Donda go up a bit more, but it wasn't that much of an upgrade. And then we also saw Drake take a hit on CLB in comparison to Scorpion. Maybe we have the same effect on a pop star, like The Weeknd, but plays within that same realm, so I think that's pretty good.
But you did have Heartless and Blinding Lights, for After Hours.
That was massive. That was true.
Yeah.
And you did have one of the most grand rollouts of 2020 implemented into that one album. But overall, what are your final predictions for the album, and what are you saying, man? How hyped are you?
Predictions. I just think that he's going to, once again, show us how genre-bending of an artist he is, and I think that he's going to incorporate these elements of this old retro sound that he's kind of been popular for bringing back into the mainstream. I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to also maybe give us some more classic hip-hop tracks like he's done with Future on Low Life, for example, or with Drake on Crew Love. So I love the feature list. I think that he will be dropping one of the best albums of this year, and also I think it's going to be his best concept record too.
Do you think it's going to be his best concept record? I listen. We're going to have to see how it stacks up against After Hours because that track list was extremely, concise, and it was really, really well put together. But I think that it's going to be a major statement for his career. I think he's going to take maybe a big shift in his aesthetic and maybe go into maybe not lighthearted music, but it's definitely going to be a bit more lighthearted than what we expected, or what we saw on After Hours. But I also think that this is going to be a great commercially successful album once again based on his past 3 studio albums. I'm really hyped for Jim Carrey's narration. That's going to be something cool to see because I want to see how it's going to fuck with the sonics and the overall sequencing of the track list. That's something that I'm looking forward to. Features, we have rap features and we also have some older features as well, so that's going to be interesting, and I just want a great record. I want something cool to start off the year, and it's definitely going to be a vibe. But guys, let us know how excited you are for Dawn FM. It's going to be coming out this Friday, January 7th, and as Lou said at the beginning of this episode, we will be doing our full live album reaction on our Patreon plan in the reaction tier. So if you guys want to access that, the link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for watching the full video, and if you're new to NFR, be sure to hit that subscribe button as we'll be keeping you guys updated with the latest album releases in terms of update videos, album reviews, and our own original series on the weekly. And we also have our Patreon plan available in the description below, where you can access weekly bonus content and also access to our Discord. So be sure to check out all of that, and we'll catch you in the next one.